Alright, so I have been making a lot of progress on the green car here. I didn't film the last couple days just because I had one day off of work where I could just focus on it and spend as much time as I could, so I just didn't really feel like filming. Like I said, I wanted to focus on it. And then even last night, I was just kind of in a zone, was getting a lot of work done. So here we go. Let's check out my stitch welded chassis. There's still more welding to be done, just some odds and ends that I want to do. But peek inside here, got ourselves all the way up and around the top of the trans tunnel, a bunch of the firewall. I still got to weld up here, and I want to do the seam that runs underneath here. But this whole floor, don't mind the mess of cords and everything, we are stitch welded from the front all the way to the back. Oh man, what a blast. I'm very excited to see what this actually does for the car. It's going to be a lot of fun to feel it out and just see how overly different it is. But on the other hand, Colin has been making some pretty good progress here lately too. He's been playing with Bondo. He put some other little patches in last night just to fill some imperfections, but the kid is doing good. For the first time he's ever done Bondo, this thing is actually coming out pretty darn smooth, I will say. So, he might be able to start doing some more of this here the next few weeks. Start throwing some primer down. I know he got his die in for the tube bender, so we're going to hopefully start bending some tubes soon. So, yeah, we also made the decision that this car is going to get a half cage, just for harness purposes and all that. After talking to some people at Grid Life the last weekend, they kind of steered me out of wanting to go with a harness bar for this car. So we are going to make the decision, and we are going to make a half cage for it and see what happens. We're just out here seeing what the hell we can make and what the hell we're capable of. So, yeah, I know I'm pretty confident with all the welding stuff I do, but building the half cage should be interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention too, I ended up making some floor patches for this that I am extremely proud of how they turned out. There's a bunch of shit here right now, but there's that floor patch and one right there. But that's all this car needed for structural damage to rust that I want to repair right now. It needs some rocker panels, but I've got a good idea for that. I just got to source the right piece of metal for it. And there is a little bit up in this rear tower, but I'm going to make a plate to reinforce the top of the tower, and maybe we'll make something that sits here too. So we will see. Lots of work to keep going, but hopefully within the next week and a half, I can start putting subframes and stuff back in here and make this car a little bit of a roller again, start playing with wiring harnesses, get the engine in here, and all the little odds and ends. So, gonna be fun. Gonna be fun. Okay, it is time to move on to some more interesting things on the GC build. Still gonna be cutting and welding, but all the stitch welding is done. There's still a few odds and ends that need to be done chassis-wise. Still got to do the half cage, which I don't remember if I had talked about already, but we'll get into that at a later date. But today, I'm going to start doing these quarters, which I actually kind of decided last night. I was originally going to cut the quarters out of this car. Not the whole quarter, but, you know, up and above and pinch weld into it for the chance of running better tires, but I hate to say that this thing has fairly decent quarters minus the back. So I think I'm just gonna fix the back half from here back to here and see what happens, because I mean I've got an idea for these rockers. Don't worry about those. But I've got a great idea for those. I just gotta find the material to do it. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna tackle today, and I kinda wanna show how I go about this, because I haven't really shown anything of how I'm going about this. Because I did some panel patching down here. I made these floor pan patches for that spot. and that spot. And I like to go through and just make all my own panels, so I kind of want to show some of how I go about that for this. The quarter panel is going to be a little interesting. I don't really have a game plan for how I'm doing this yet, but I mean the overall shape will be easy. It's just a matter of getting our arch here, and if I'm going to have a lip folded over to match the factory somewhat. So we will see what I get into here, and yeah, just all the fun to begin. But this whole chassis honestly has turned out very well. You can see, or I was underneath it all last night, you can see these welds here and up around here, back through there. Those are all underneath the chassis. I spent a whole night overhead welding on this car, and it sucked, but it's done. Don't have to worry about it. I was going to kind of keep going and do some more stuff around the fuel tank area, but the car gets a little rougher back there. It's still solid by any means. I'm still going to wire wheel it, and then we're going to shoot the bottom of this with Rhino liner just to preserve it a little bit. But I decided with doing a half cage, it's going to tie in the back of it enough that the couple spots that I didn't do underneath the car, I'm not going to worry about. It isn't worth the time to spend under there welding and grinding for another few hours to me, because, I mean, I've done so much. The whole entire firewall up. I mean, you can kind of get an idea from looking like that. But, yeah. I mean, I've stitch welded everything. Everything that I can think of welding, I did. So, very happy with it. Should feel very good. I'm excited to drive this to see how it actually feels. It's only going to get stiffer, obviously, putting a half cage and all that in it. It's going to be quite the difference compared to the white car. So, going to get into it and just keep trucking along. Crazy to think that I'm making this shell nicer than my nice car at the moment. But that's how projects go. You just never know which one you're going to start working on next. So, I kind of forgot to record it, but I got one patched panel done. Actually, turned out a lot better than I expected it to. You guys gonna see right there. Not too bad. Follows the contour of it pretty decently. The bumper doesn't meet all that well, but you know, I'm not going to complain for something I made by hand, especially for this car. That's pretty damn good, I'd say. Doesn't look pretty from that side. I'll finish shaping it once I start welding it in the car, but darn it, we got another side to do, so I might as well film this side, and this one's going to be a lot longer, a little more challenging, so get the welder moved out of the way here, and wish me luck. Start patching away. Well, I ended up having to go charge my phone after that last little bit you seen. But, in the meantime, I got this all cut out. Started tacking her in there. Not look too bad so far. I do enjoy making stuff. I'm not expecting a perfect wheel arch, but I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'll make sure I film this whole side. I'm going to work on getting that one welded out, and then we'll be moving over here and cutting that and welding it in. So just get right to moving along. Very happy with what I'm able to put together these days. Like that, got ourselves some half-ass quarter panels. On camera they look fucking beautiful. I would say they're probably a 5 out of 10 job if I had to rate it myself, but I will never actually rate my own work nicely, so take that how you will. Overall, we got some solid quarter panels in here. Put a flap disc on the grinder now and get them all smoothed out and see how much body filler we're going to have to put in there to make it look halfway decent for repainting this car. But for just a couple weeks worth of work and just spending a day making some panels, this car's coming a long way. I'm very happy with it. So hopefully soon we'll be getting on to the bigger and better things, throwing the wiring harness in here, some subframes, and can start going through the 2-liter I have for it and welding up the transmission. And yeah, that'll be the fun stuff. Once all the chassis work is done, I can just start bolting parts on this car and having a lot of fun. So that's what I'm excited for. Not too far away. Well, we also got to paint the whole inside, and there's a lot of work. Just a lot of work. Paint the inside, re-seam sealer all the edges, just because I don't want people seeing my welds. I ain't gonna say they're good, but I ain't gonna say they're bad either. But it is what it is. We just gonna keep trucking along and hopefully get this car done yet this year and maybe make it to one drift event. That'd be kind of cool, but kind of doubt that's gonna happen. But we will see. I've pushed to get Stranger Things done in shorter deadlines, so yeah, there's got to be a few end of the year drift events that we might be able to make it to. Who knows? If not, Mexico's not that far away, luckily.